Hi, Travis with Splunk here. In a previous video, I went over how to configure the Splunk OpenTelemetry Collector to send log and metrics data into Splunk Core. Now, I've done this for another environment in my demo environment where I'm sending this data up to ITSI, IT Service Intelligence, which is one of our premium products. And I've also sent this into Splunk Core and use IT Essentials work to look at that data. And what you're seeing here on my screen is IT Service Intelligence, but the entity overview section is the same thing that you'll see in IT Essentials work. I have videos on IT Essentials work and how to use it, so I'm not going to go more into that. I am creating some videos around IT Service Intelligence about creating entity types. So where it says k8s space pod, there is an entity type that I've created for my Kubernetes pods. Then in that same video I'm working on, I'm showing you how to create a discovery search to find data inside or find entities in the data that you're collecting, which leads me to the problem I encountered the other day where I logged into my demo environment and I had over 1,000 pods created. Now, this is it's very similar to this one here, and this one's in a healthy state. I only have a total of 7 active. I do have one that's inactive, and it's the same, pod that's running down here. So this is, one of the issues of sending this data into Splunk Core and using an entity discovery search. The OTEL collector is going to send that data. It's going to be there, and my discovery search is going to find this until I clean up my Kubernetes environment, because what was happening, the hard drive was filling up on that Ubuntu server, the host machine, which then caused my cluster to evict and try to recreate the pods to meet the requirements. Well, it just kept in a loop. Stand up a new one, doesn't work, evict it because there's no hard drive space to stand up the new one, and it just kept doing it over and over again. I started thinking to myself, why can't I come over here and look at my events and find a keyword like evicted or something so I can see the state of that pod, which actually the way I configured in that video and what I did have in my instructions for MicroK setup with OTEL collector, it was missing something. It took me a little bit of research to figure out what it was missing, and I've included that here, and it's highlighted, which is cluster receiver, events enabled, true. If you look in and you do where I created or right here, Helm show values, and created a base OTEL.yaml file, this by default is false or events enabled. After I enabled this in my other environment that created 1,000 pods, I started getting the data that I was looking for. And that's what this video is going to do. I'm going to actually go enable this in this environment, and then I'm going to cause a restart to show you some of that data. But first, let me talk about, haven't seen that video, please go check it out on how to get this up and running. And I am going to include a link to some helpful scripts that I created, because one thing about ITSI is when you are managing these entities, especially when you get, the most I've seen because of this pod problem was 5,000 pods, entities created from the pods. And yeah, it really, I did it once where I would say, hey, select 100, delete, select another 100, delete. Not going to do that again. I actually went in and worked on getting a script created called entity cleanup. So in here, I can actually enter a username and password. I give it, either you can uncomment to line 4 and 5, So you can say where the Splunk host is and then give it an entity type ID. The entity type ID, you can do a search inside of Splunk ITSI to find that. If I get a second, I'll do that. But actually, you know what? Let me jump over and do that search now. I have it saved right there. Entity input lookup ITSI entities. So if I run this search, I will get. I've got some other stuff I need to work on. But if I look through here, I'll find here is one of my Pac-Man entity identifier values and then entity type ID. So I just grabbed this ID, plugged it into that script, and then had the script run and go through and delete all of these pods for me. I ran it from, I wasn't on my ITSI server. I was actually on the Ubuntu server that's hosting my Kubernetes nodes that has access or has the IP address. I can hit it via port 8089. If you maybe in another video, I can really go and show you how that works, but I've already cleaned it out, so I can't give you a demo right now. Other scripts I have in here, let me back up, is a game deployment cleanup, pods cleanup. So this is because I had a bunch of pods that were either showing error, unknown, completed, or evicted, and it would show all of the 1,000 pods. And what I mean by that is if I come over to my SSH here, and let's say I gotta click inside of there. Say if I run this command here and get my Kubernetes environment, everything's going to be at a healthy state right now in this environment, but where it was showing that top part, I would see 1,000 pods in there, and where it says status, instead of running, it would be error, it'd be evicted. It wasn't just unknown, there was some other verbiage that went along with it, but there was a lot of pods in there that weren't running, weren't ready. They were just sitting there taking up space. And then another helpful script was I've got to figure out why. Sometimes every time I restart the server itself, it will actually not bring up the game correctly. I've probably done something. It's probably something I've done. I haven't went around and fixed it. All I do is just come in here and I restart the. Here, let me bring up this. Basically, restart that deployment, and then I go in there and delete the replica set that is at 0. So down here they're all desired, current, and ready. All 1. I would come in here and find them at a 0. So with that, and I'm already in here. Go back to the Splunk OpenTelemetry Collector for Kubernetes. There's a lot of good information here. That video, I do have that up here just to show you, hey, go there and look at it. Not going to go into too much other documentation for this video, but I am going to come here and I want to here. I'm going to do a VI on I do an LS. There is, I have a backup copy. I have the values that I copied over to OTEL YAML, but what I end up doing is just my name there. Let's do that. Let's VI Hall YAML. And inside of here, we can then do a / events enabled. I thought I saw 1 second. Oh, you know what I did? Let me try that again. Events enabled. There we go. I think I was already, probably if I watched this video again, I was already on the screen because I was looking at it earlier, and then the VI remembered I was at that line. Then I closed it out to start the video, and I started searching below it, so I had to go back up to the top. I believe that's what happened. But anyway, it's right there, events enabled. And if you want to learn more about it, you can read all of this right here. Not sure how well it's going to show up on your screen. Do a more and find this. There is GitHub documentation and OpenTelemetry about the k8s server receiver. But in short, this flag, setting it from false to true, is going to give me some more events to about this environment. So I'm actually going to do that now. Need to, oh, huh. I should have hit enter, so I get to do it again. Events enabled. All right. Now, since I've hit enter, it takes me to the line. Then I can insert true, tape, right, and quit. So I've updated my YAML file. Now I need to force an upgrade. Now, very similar to what I've talked about in my documentation. Go back to that. Up here, you can see I have Helm, show values, and then I have Helm, the namespace that I had created, install, and instead of install, I'm going to use upgrade. And now make sure you have your cluster name. I believe this one was all-Splunk OTEL. Back to Nix. Pretty sure I got too many environments to keep track of. But I believe, yep, Hall Splunk OTEL. It's right there in these names. I'm going to clear. I already have, and I haven't ran this command on this environment. And of course, I don't have it the same in, funny how I don't have it the same in another environment. Let's see here, there we go. So I have that Helm -n for namespace hotel upgrade. I'm going to use the name Splunk Hall Splunk OTEL like I had -f, then the Hall OTEL YAML, just like I had in my documentation there. I'm going to hit enter, and we are going to see in live if I've done this correctly or if this is a problem, and then I'm going to have to re-record everything. So it did go through and deployed the newer revision. Oh, Network Explorer options no longer supported. Must have that set in there, but it shouldn't be causing any problems. Cluster receiver events enabled parameter is depreciated. Huh. That's good to know. I didn't see that on when I ran it the other day. However, it should be going through and deploying that. Now that I'm going to go check Splunk Web and see if I get any new log data over there. Here, let's rerun this. I'm going to put it on like last 60 minutes because it won't go get historical data. It'll only get data from right now. Before I had a container, and I could, let me see if I can back up and show you. Here's the source types. I don't believe I did this, but you can see container for the last 24 hours. I have cube container, hydrate, Calico node, core DNS, game engine. But when I go and rerun this search last 60 minutes, there's another source type that's showing up. If I go to source type called events. So it's already, redeployed it. This is real time. I haven't paused the video, done anything, but I have redeployed my settings, which you can see right there. It's scaled down, deleted pod, stopped the container for the OTEL collector. So it even grabbed the event for me redeploying the OTEL collector. Let me, I believe, check something here. Yes, you have, I am going to, trying to think how I want to show this. I want to restart instead of me typing it all out. I know rolling restart. So I'm going to roll. Yeah, that's what I would do before I had the script. I would go find where it was so I don't have to retype it out. And yes, I know I could make the command smaller, and I just haven't yet. So I'm still typing micro k8s kubectl. Be better than me and go do that to where you've got it associated just to kubectl or something else to make that. But yeah, I just haven't. So I'm going to restart and do a rolling restart on that deployment so I can call some log data. Once it's done, it's been restarted. Should be able to do this, which will now have that replica set now. It's, I'll worry about that later. So I'll have to go throughout and delete that one. Scroll up here. Yeah, you can see where it's running, and there's initialized. I could me clear. I'll rerun and see if it's done doing what I want it to be doing. Everything looks good right now. Except I will have to delete this one here, which is very easy. But I'm going to go back over to my Splunk log data, my Splunk environment, and show you what I've done over here. If I do the last 60 minutes now, I'm going to have a lot more data. So now I can see stopping the game engine. I can see a lot of good information here. I even have a search that I've created. Go find my notes. And created on my other environment, which I'm going to probably, create an alert around it. Do something so that the next time it starts deleting pods, I don't just get, I just don't log in and find a whole bunch of mess. But now I can see if one's being killed or scaling or scheduled, started, created, evicted, whatever. I can turn this into a, if I wanted to, I could turn this into, let's delete this and then delete this, rerun this search, and turn it into a pie chart. And then turn this into a dashboard so I can say, hey, I've got a lot of stuff going on here. If I want to find if it, create an alert around if something's being created, how many pods are being created in the last 24 hours. Now I can start getting that kind of information. Now I still need to go through and understand all of the data because I just did this a day ago from this recording. But here, like, even scaled down the replica from 0 to 1. There's probably a lot of good information that can help you, especially if you're doing Kubernetes and you're trying to figure out how to do this in Splunk Core. With that, hopefully you found this useful, especially for anyone that watched my very first video with the older, I don't think I even put a revision on that document, but the older document where I didn't have these settings and you were running into the same problem. Like, I wish there was this log data. Yeah, there was this log data. I just didn't have it enabled. But just enabling one switch there helped me get more information from my Kubernetes environment. I apologize for everyone that's watched the original and kind of wish I would have figured that out before, but I'm always learning as you all. Yeah, I've been using Splunk for a while, but Kubernetes and OTEL collector and all of this, I'm still green. I'm still learning. And more I figure out, I'll make sure to create more content. Then if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. And then happy spelunking.